The first thing I heard that morning was the sound of a bulldozer stopping in front of my land. I walked outside, still holding my coffee, and saw a group of people standing near my private property line. In the middle of them was Linda Parker, the HOA president, wearing a bright smile like she had already won. She pointed toward my red rock cliff and said, "Finally, this neighborhood will have the view it deserves." For a second, I thought I had heard her wrong. "My cliff?" I asked. "The one on my property?" She laughed quietly and looked at the people around her. "Oh, you still think that little piece of land belongs to you?" That sentence made my stomach drop, because I knew exactly what she was trying to do. For months, Linda had been finding excuses to control my property. First, she complained about my old fence. Then she said my driveway was hurting the neighborhood image. After that, she started sending fake-looking HOA letters, trying to make me feel like I was some kind of rule breaker. But this time was different. She wasn't sending letters anymore. She had brought machines. A few neighbors stood behind her holding cameras, waiting for my reaction. They wanted a show. They wanted me to lose my temper so they could paint me as the problem. But I stayed calm. "Linda, you can't build anything here," I said. "This land has been in my family for over 30 years. She smiled. That smile told me she had something planned. "Oh, I know about your little papers," she said. "But you don't understand. This cliff is too beautiful to belong to just one person." I looked at the bulldozer again. That was when I realized something. She wasn't asking for permission. She had already decided my property was going to become a public viewpoint, a place where strangers could park, walk around, take pictures, and stand on land that I paid for, protected and maintained. Then she handed me a document. "Read the last page," she said. I opened it, expecting another fake HOA threat. But what I saw made my hands freeze. It was a notice claiming the area was being turned into a community scenic area, signed by the HOA, not the county, not the state, the HOA. Linda leaned closer and whispered, "You should have worked with us when you had the chance." The people behind her started smiling. They thought I was defeated. They thought an old homeowner standing alone against a powerful HOA board had no chance. But what they didn't know was that I had been waiting for this day. Because years before Linda became HOA president, before the neighborhood even existed, I had discovered something hidden in the original property records, something that could destroy her entire plan. And she had no idea that her decision to bring that bulldozer onto my land was about to expose the biggest mistake of her life, because there was something living on that cliff. Something the HO never checked, something that could stop their dream project overnight. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of trucks outside my house. For a moment, I thought maybe they were leaving. Maybe Linda realized her mistake and decided to remove the fence. But when I looked through the window, my heart sank. 3 workers were standing near the fence, holding tools. Behind them was Linda's SUV, parked right in front of my property. She wasn't removing anything. She was expanding. I rushed outside and walked toward them. "What are you doing?" I asked. One of the workers looked uncomfortable. "We were told this area belongs to the HOA. We're just following orders." Before I could reply, Linda stepped out of her vehicle. She looked completely calm, like she was watching someone else's problem. "Good morning," she said with a smile. "I hope you're ready to accept reality today." I stared at her. "You're actually continuing this?" She opened her folder again. This project was approved. "The fence stays, and this land will become a shared community space." I laughed because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "A shared space? On my private property?" Linda crossed her arms. "You keep saying that word, private, but ownership is about paperwork, not emotions." That sentence almost made me smile, because she had no idea how much paperwork I had. I pulled out my phone and recorded again. "Linda, do you understand that you are building on land you don't own?" She looked directly into the camera. "I understand that you don't have the authority to stop us." Then she leaned closer and whispered, "You should have cooperated when you had the chance." That was when I realized something. This was never about a fence. Linda wasn't trying to improve the neighborhood. She was trying to control my land. I went back inside and opened the old box my grandfather left behind. Dust covered the top, but everything inside was carefully organized. Old maps, tax records, property surveys. And then I found the document I was looking for. A signed land transfer agreement from decades ago. The exact piece of land where Linda built her fence. It belonged to my family, but there was something even more shocking. Attached to the back of the document was a handwritten note from my grandfather. It said, "Never let anyone take this land without a fight. Some people don't want your property. They want your silence." I read that line twice, because suddenly everything made sense. Linda wasn't confused. She knew exactly what she was doing. I checked the old records again and noticed a name connected to the original. HOA paperwork. Linda Parker's father. The same man who helped create the HOA years ago. The same man who tried to claim this land before. And now his daughter was finishing what he started. But there was one thing they both forgot. I wasn't the same person they thought they could push around. For years, I had stayed quiet because I wanted peace with my neighbors. But Linda mistook patience for weakness. That evening, I installed a small camera facing the fence. I knew she would come back. People like Linda always do. They don't stop when they win. They stop when they get exposed. And the next morning, the camera caught something that changed everything. The next morning, I checked the camera footage before I even made my coffee. I expected to see workers coming back. I expected another HOA warning, but what I saw made me sit down. At 6:15 a.m., Linda arrived at the fence with 2 HOA board members. They weren't there to inspect anything. They were there to remove the old property markers, the exact markers that showed where my land began. Linda looked around carefully and said, "Once those are gone, nobody can prove where the original line was." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She wasn't making a mistake. She was destroying evidence. I saved the footage immediately. Then I made one phone call. Not to Linda, not to the HOA. I called the county property office. 2 days later, Linda held an emergency HOA meeting. She walked in expecting another easy victory. She had printed letters, prepared speeches, and even brought a security guard to make me look like the problem. "Today, we will officially discuss removing this homeowner from the community," she announced. Everyone looked at me. Some neighbors avoided eye contact. Others believed Linda because she had always acted like she was in charge. Then I stood up. "Before we talk about removing me, maybe we should talk about what you tried to remove from my property." I placed the documents on the table. The room went silent. The county records showed the land belonged to my family. The original survey proved the fence was built across my property line. And then I played the camera footage. Linda's own voice filled the room. "Once those are gone, nobody can prove where the original line was." The confidence disappeared from her face. For the first time, Linda Parker had nothing to say. The same neighbors who once believed her started asking questions. "Did you really build this without permission? Did you fake the documents? Were you trying to take his land?" One by one, the truth came out. The fake signatures, the false approvals, the hidden plans to take control of private properties around the neighborhood. Linda thought she was untouchable because she had a title. She forgot something important. A title doesn't give someone the right to steal. The county ordered the fence removed immediately. The OO had to pay for the damage they caused, and an investigation was opened into the false documents Linda created. A few weeks later, I stood in my backyard watching workers take down the final piece of that fence. The same fence that was supposed to make me feel powerless was now lying on the ground. My neighbor walked over and smiled. "I owe you an apology," he said. I thought Linda was protecting the neighborhood. I looked at the empty space where the fence once stood. "She wasn't protecting the neighborhood," I replied. "She was trying to own it." After everything was over, I didn't build a bigger fence. I didn't try to get revenge. I simply put a small sign near my property line. It said, "Respect what belongs to others," because that was the lesson Linda learned the hard way. You can pressure people. You can scare them. you can pretend you have power. But when the truth comes out, the truth always owns the land.